You ever feel like you're training harder than ever, but somehow still falling apart inside? Like the reps are clean and your body is sharp, but your mind's off, and you keep showing up right day after day, and not because you're thriving, but because you're scared what might happen if you stop. Yeah, same. And no one talks about it.
Steel and shadow, fists fly high, breaking through limits, I reach for the sky. Martial instincts power my stride. Fight principles guiding my fight.
Welcome back to Fight Principles. I'm Sasha, and this month we are stepping into a different kind of fight. The kind that doesn't leave bruises. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I want to talk about something that most men, especially in combat sports, martial arts, never really say out loud. That we are struggling, quietly, constantly maybe even. And half the time, we don't even have the language for it. And it's not because we are weak, it's because we've been trained culturally, emotionally, physically, and to keep our chin down and our guard up. But here's the problem. You can't block something if you won't even admit it hits you. And that said, we're not alone, right? That's the good thing about this. There are fighters who said it out loud, and I just name a few, right? Just to show you some proof. Real fighters, real stories. Most recently, probably, Alexander Volkanovski, right? The great featherweight GOAT, maybe. I hesitate a little bit, but hey, right? After that one KO loss to Makhachev, right? He got super real. He says, I need to be in camp. I need something to chase, because if I'm not preparing, I feel lost. And that feeling of like, I need to focus on chasing something, someone. I need this goal, otherwise I'm lost. Right? He says he's mentally not okay if he wasn't training. But he's not the only one, right? George St. Pierre, the GOAT, actually, right? He admitted to panic attacks during his most famous title run. He said, I was champion of the world and I was falling apart inside. So he's achieving what everybody's dreaming about, but he can't enjoy it because he's falling apart. Even in boxing, Tyson Fury, right? He won it all. And then he sank into this spiral of depression, addiction, even suicidal thoughts. Like he said, I had everything and I wanted to end it. And the common theme here, yet the fight didn't end when the bell rang. That's when the actual fight started. So the question then, of course, becomes like, why don't we talk about this? And as I mentioned in the intro, right? And the answer is probably because we're taught not to. You're told to be providers, protectors. If you do it like more combat sports related, killers in the cage or in the ring. But nobody really teaches you how to process grief or fear or emptiness after success. Your discipline gets twisted into denial, and your grit turns into guilt, and asking for help, that feels like surrender. But here's what they don't say enough. Yeah, asking for help is strategy, not surrender. And as martial artists, strategy should be our friend. So why don't we also use strategy in this case? And so one more time, asking for help is a strategy. It does not mean we surrender. So this leads me to the core of today's episode. a few, in this case, 5 fight principles for men's mental health. So let's bring this all into training terms, because mental health is health, and strength without awareness is a liability. So, number 1, your mind is a weapon, okay? It's not a liability. Yeah, we train things like focus, like awareness, like timing. But then we ignore mental fatigue. Yeah, you miss cues, you freeze, you fall apart mid-fight. That makes sense, right? So mental sharpness is survival. Not just in the ring, though. And so treat mental sharpness, mental health, like a skill set. Yeah, you wouldn't skip conditioning. Don't skip therapy, journaling, stillness. Train your mind, okay? Leads me to the second point. Stillness is a skill. And stillness is not laziness, okay? That's important. Stillness is composure. Stillness is choosing not to flinch, not to react. And many times we confuse this with doing nothing. But stillness actually means doing everything internally. Yeah, you gotta be so calm you can hear the shift before it happens. And it's not soft, that's dangerous. That's the fighter in you, and it's a good thing. Now, to be clear, stillness also doesn't mean ignorance. We come to this in a second. Stillness does not mean ignorance. Yeah, stillness just means being composed, listening to yourself, giving yourself time to process everything. So stillness is not laziness. Stillness is not ignorance. Stillness is its own skill. Practice stillness, and you'll feel better. Number 3, an obvious thing. As a fighter, you have a team, you have a coach, a cutman. So ask for a corner. You're not meant to patch yourself up all alone, right? If you're going to a fight. So why would you do that? Yeah, why do you ask for support for physical aches but not for mental aches? If you got people who check your blind spots, keep them. And if not, find them. This isn't a solo adventure. Life's not. Again, we're having coaches, training partners, all those things for our physical training. But for mental training, we're trying to do it by ourselves. Why? Yeah, even lone wolves have dens, right? So find your corner. 4th, discipline is not self-abuse. Things like rest, nutrition, saying, not today. That's not quitting, that's training smart. You're pushing through everything with no pause. It's not courage, that's recklessness. You don't train until you break, train so you can last. And again, that hopefully makes sense when talking about your physical training. Why not also apply that to your mental training? Now, of course, there's a line, right? If you feel not today every day, then maybe you have to check in with someone and figure out why is it every day that I don't feel like it? But you don't have to push yourself through everything. It's okay not to be okay. And to listen to yourself. So don't train until you break. Don't push yourself until you break. You're trying to last. And the last thing, your story matters. Even if you don't post it. No one needs to see your pain for it, okay? Just because you don't go out into the public and tell everybody, oh, I'm struggling today. Doesn't mean it's any less valid than of those people who do it. So you don't need to share with the public, but you need to face it. You need to sit with it. You need to name it. Why? Because that's how it loses power. So you don't have to shout it. Just stop pretending it's not there. Ignoring it makes it stronger. Facing it takes away its power. It gives you the power. Okay? So I'm saying all that just to tell you, you're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to be numb. You're allowed to feel like nothing's wrong and still feel off. You're allowed to be a fighter and still need help. The strongest guys in the room aren't the loudest. They're the ones who kept showing up even when everything in them said, stay down. If that's you, you're not broken. You're in the middle of a fight. And the beautiful thing about that is you're still in it. Heavy episode this time, I know, so thanks for listening to Fight Principles. It was more of a quiet, heavy one, but on a personal level, I feel it's one that really matters. If you're struggling, talk to someone. If you don't have anyone to talk to me. If you're fine, check on the guy who looks like he's fine too. And if you're in the middle of a war right now, do remember that the real warriors train for the fight no one sees. And you're a warrior. That's it for this episode. Stay grounded, stay sharp, stay here, and we'll talk soon. Sorry, Cap.
Steel and shadow, fists fly high, breaking through limits, I reach for the sky. Martial instincts power my stride. Fight principles guiding my fight.